Good morning, everybody. This is Claire Van Steenwyk coming to you on video or live, depending on your point of view, from my office in my home in Arizona, of Sun City West. I want to talk to you today about what's going on in Maricopa County, or as people outside of Maricopa County so lovingly call us, the state of Maricopa. Many of you have heard about how our county recorder presently mailed out all kinds of forms and data and whatever for people to get ballots mailed to them that aren't even on the early voting list, which technically violated what he was allowed to do. However, since that time, we have some new information through whatever means possible, and I'm not quite sure how this worked out because I've gotten one side of it from the county supervisor's office and another side from the county recorder's office, and I'm trying to verify all this information so we have just one story to tell. But there's something going on in Maricopa County with our election process this cycle. I know all of you remember a couple of years ago in 18 when we had our votes, and polls weren't open. They were open on time. They were temporarily opened. All kinds of things were crazy were going on. Well, the county supervisors decided to take away that part of the voting operation from the county recorder, or so they told us, and run it themselves. The problem we have now, and they're blaming it, of course, on the China virus, is that we're only going to have, or we're going to have less than 100 polling places versus the normal 500. So they're actually cutting it by over 80%. Now, it's kind of odd that this happens because in the operations business I was in the food industry, we had to deliver to stores, so many hundreds of stores every day, no matter what. Rain, shine, didn't matter. Earthquakes, didn't matter. We had to do it because if we didn't do it, we lost customers. Eventually, we lost the client. But I guess in voting, they figure we're just focused on this thing. We have to do it no matter what, and they're going to tell us exactly what they're going to do. Now, what they're doing is, especially in your senior communities like one I live in, we have a number of polls in this community because some of the people, quite frankly, can't drive too far. Some have a hard time walking and other things. I'm sure all of you know that if you've seen seniors at all. Some drive golf carts only, so they won't go outside of this complex at all. Now, over in Sun City, they're allowed to drive golf carts on the street. You don't do that in Surprise, and we're bordered by Surprise, so you don't go outside here. Nevertheless, we've been told we're going to have 100 or less. Now, they've set up this schedule. They're going to open a few of them, or 5 or 6 of them on the first day, which is July 8th. Then about a week or so later, they're going to open some more, and then some more, and then finally we're going to have them all open for the whole cycle. And they're going to give us all early voting early so that this inconvenience isn't quite as inconvenient. Well, you know, it's still inconvenient when you've got to go from driving a quarter of a mile or 5 or 6 blocks from your house to maybe a mile, 3 miles, 4 miles, 5, because there's no way you're going to take 500 and drop it down to 100 and make it convenient for people that don't live around that voting place. And some people that don't travel a lot are going to have a hard time finding these places. I have no doubt of that. What seems to be odd about this is it's going to actually help this mail-in ballot process that we have that's not safeguarded in Arizona at all. I've already talked to who I have to talk to, and even though the laws in Arizona say if you're going to bring ballots in for someone else, which is technically ballot harvesting, that you have to either got to be a caregiver or a relative. However, when you go deeper into that rule, they don't enforce it. I know I've been at the county recorder's office when people have brought in baskets full of these things. And I'm talking about those plastic containers with the flip lids. They walk in with one. God only knows how many ballots that thing holds. I would say 100 or more. And they dump it out. Then the guy went back out in the parking lot, brought another one in. Then he went back out and brought another one in. Then he went back out and brought another one in. Now, if you've ever been on the county recorder's office down there, not too far from the sheriff's office, you'll notice that this is walk in, everybody behind those glass windows can see you, walk over to where the ballots are going to be delivered, but no one talks to you. They don't ask you if you're a relative or if you're a caregiver. They ask for no identification. You're just dropping off hundreds of ballots. Now, I'm sure some people are going to do it, delivering 1 or 2. The problem with this is they do have ballot harvesting in Arizona. They do go around collecting ballots and then filling them out. All the person has to do is sign them, because someone down at the recorder's office thinks they're a signature expert, so they can figure out pretty much whether they're real or they're not. I don't believe they are, and I believe that we need to have verification on say a computerized system where you can actually look at it, and the computer will tell you whether it's real or not. We do have people that are certified and licensed handwriting experts, but the county recorder doesn't have those. So this has gone from the county going to run our voting right, and our polls are going to open on time, and everybody's going to get to vote the way they're supposed to in all their precincts 2 years ago, to now opening 400 less polls, expanding the time frame, but limiting access. And if you look at the definition of suppressing the vote or suppression, that's what it is. Whenever a government agency limits or pushes back on whatever activity you're doing, that's suppression. So they're going to suppress the vote at the polls by doing this, but they're going to increase the vote through early voting or just sending in ballots. One thing you need to look at is how everybody's always complaining, and the Democrats are great at this, that the people that get the ballots to mail back don't always have real good access to mail people or post office boxes or whatever, and they're not sure they can trust the system. The question I've always asked these people and never got an answer to is, how do you trust a system that gets you the ballot so you can fill it out, but you don't trust the same system to bring it back? Now, it got it to your house, or if you were out of state, if it's an absentee ballot, got it there. But you don't believe it can get it back, so you've got to give it to someone else to bring down there for you. Or someone goes out collecting, whether it's rest homes, retirement centers, whatever, because you know in nursing homes, you can go in there and find a bunch of people that get ballots mailed to them. Some of these people can hardly sit up anymore. I know we've been in them and visited them. So how do you know who's filling that ballot out? You don't. That's why I don't like mail-in ballots to begin with. Not early, not any kind. Absentee ballots I can live with because we have service people that are out of the country. I got a call at that from one of them the other day in Alaska to ask me some questions about the office I'm running for. But that's one thing. But almost 90% of every vote cast in Arizona is done through the mail by early voting. It's dangerous to our republic, whether you like it or not. And the real danger I see here is incompetence at the county. Like I said, when I was in the food business and we had to distribute food all over Southern California, we had earthquakes there. I don't know if any of you remember that, but out in the North Valley, out in the Thousand Oaks area, etc., we had earthquakes. We had stores that were destroyed, basically. We had to set up temporary generators, pipe power into them to keep the refrigeration going so we didn't lose hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of food product. And we had bridges that were out and roads that were out, but our drivers still had to find a way to those stores so the residents in those areas could still get food. Now, if we can do that in Los Angeles, as big and as complicated as that is, I want someone to give me a really good explanation why they couldn't set up tents with generators to vote with air-conditioned systems in them. You've seen tents, you know they do it. They do it to sell fireworks. They do it for down when they're selling automobiles down by the Cardinal Center. They do it for all kinds of things. But our county supervisors couldn't figure out a way to do this. There's plenty of parking lots that are empty right now. There's, in fact, a lot of stores that are empty right now. Different people have gone out of business. Stores have closed. Albertson, Safeway merged. That left a lot of empty spaces. There are ways to do this. Might have cost a little more, but it wouldn't have infringed on your right to vote and suppressed the voting. My main problem with this is the promises we were given in 18 that our polls would open on time and everybody would have complete access to them. Haven't happened. And they're using the China virus as the excuse. Not the reason, the excuse. I have another look at this. I've been told two different stories, and until I get them straight, I'm not going to share them with you, about who decided on this. Yeah, the county supervisors approved this deal, but from my understanding, the county recorder, Mr. Fontes, who screwed this thing up to begin with, got his fingers all over it with the director of voting, poll voting operations in his office. Now, I realize the supervisors say they have a guy, but these two guys got together. And between two people, getting paid fairly good, between two people, that means each one of them has had 2 years to find 50 voting precincts, 50 voting polls, 50 out of 500. And the excuses I got, well, some people don't want their building used because of this, or, you know, the germs and whatever. Sanitize them before, during, and after. Now what you're going to have is people going to these polls, some people, it's going to be 100 plus when the voting starts in July. They're going to be farther from home. if a lot of people do go to the polls, you're going to be standing out in lines at 105 to 118 heat. I know what that's like because I've been at the motor vehicle when they used to do that. And they had to have sprayers to make sure people didn't die of heat exhaustion. So we're dealing with a lot of incompetence here. And I'm not happy with it, and I hope none of you are. And this is for all of Arizona, because I believe this is the future for us. This is another one of those little tests. It's like the test of the virus. See if we'd all stay home and behave ourselves. See if we'd allow the government to tell us how to live. Now we're allowing our county government to tell us where we can and can't vote. We're not going to make it as easy for you as it used to be, unless, of course, you want to go to an all mail-in system, which is not trustworthy, and it's not. I don't care what anybody says. I get early ballots, but I go to the poll because I don't trust the early system. I just don't trust the ballot system. I don't trust the mail-ins at all. I like to go down there and do it myself. The early ballot helps me look at them, make them out, then go down there, ask for a ballot, mark it, make sure I'm right, turn it in, and I'm done, and I know they've got it. And I know no one can tamper with it. I just don't trust this system. And what I trust least of all is people who tell me one thing and do another. We had a saying when I was in business years ago, started it, promises made, promises kept. I gave my word to somebody in business and I didn't keep it. I could lose my job. I could lose customers for my company, which meant other people would lose their jobs. So you better know when you promise somebody something, you're going to keep it. The problem we have is far too many politicians tell us they're going to do things and never do, and never suffer the anger of the voters because voters feel like they have no choice but to vote for them because they're the only one on the ballot. You know, if they're the only one, they're going to win anyway with one vote. So if you don't vote for them, the vote turnout turns down for them. May not be a bad lesson for them to learn in the future. But I would recommend all of you to get a hold of your county supervisors in Maricopa County and ask them just what in the hell is going on here, because we have a right to know. And while I'm at it, yes, I am running for Maricopa County Recorder here in the state of Arizona, Maricopa County Recorder, running the elections, registering voters, doing all the records, etc. I have a history of running businesses. I know how to do it, so I'd appreciate your vote. That's the sign I've got. I think most of you can see it. I'll take this headset off for a minute. There it is. Vote for Claire Van Steenwyk. And I'm asking for your vote as long as I'm doing this. Why not? Give us a hand. Give other people hands. And for those of you who haven't heard, you've got somebody running for Corporation Commission. He ran a couple of years ago. His name is Jim O'Connor. The problem was they kicked a couple of Republicans off the ballot. That's why he didn't try to get on it. But they kicked him off. So now we have only 2 Republicans running for 3 seats. So if you take the time when you get your ballot under Corporation Commission, write in Jim O'Connor. He needs around 8,000 votes to be put on the general election ballot. So if all of you that see this in Arizona, no matter where you are in Arizona, would write in Jim O'Connor's name, I know I'd appreciate it for one, and I'm sure he would, because a lot of you voted for him. He came in 4th last, or 3rd. He didn't get on the board last time. He almost made it and just missed. So if even 10% of you would put his name on now, he's a shoo-in for the general. Because there's 3 seats and only 2 Republicans on the ballot. So you're not going to hurt them by writing his name in. You'll then get 3 Republicans on the ballot for the general. So I, for one, would appreciate it if you did it. I've asked other people to do it. We put it out on our website. By the way, I have a website, voteforvan.com. So give us a hand with this. But contact your county recorder and find out what in the world is going on here and why they think they can pull the wool over our eyes, because I don't believe they can. And I'm going to be back with you on another video later on this Anarchy 2 that we're going through in America. God bless you. Have a great day and, keep the faith.